Hello, and welcome to Depth Perception. We discuss movies and dive into how films direct the way we experience them. We create a perception of sound, a perception of sight, with a dimension of mind. We move into a land of both shadow and substance, of themes and ideas. Mr. Vozly and Mr. Kmax here again. I warned the pod last episode that I was looking forward to the challenge that Midsommar would bring us. And boy, does it seem like it was a challenge. Midsommar is a folk horror movie from 2019, directed by Ari Aster and starring Florence, is it Pugh? Mm-hmm. I still don't know how to pronounce that. Midsommar is about a group of friends that travel to Sweden for a midsummer festival. A bizarre and macabre experience ensues. This movie is our last stop in our chapter on grief before we move into the happier topic of isolation. K-Max, how did this make you feel?
Angry.
Thank you, K-Max. Let's dive into the itinerary for today. What upset us in this movie?
What didn't?
Subversion of tropes and our discussions on grief. Did Dani successfully process grief? Using important events to shape our theme. Theme and why. I watched this movie with our friend Tiffy when it came out in theaters. It was a harrowing, bizarre, and memorable experience at the time. It left me thinking, it challenged me, and I cannot believe Tiffy lasted the whole movie. I only watched it once, and once again waited for years before diving into the experience again. This time with my dear friend Kmax, who at this point right now is questioning what he ever did to me to deserve this. And is staring at me with daggers.
That is accurate.
Well, I've kept you waiting long enough. I know what your initial reactions are going to be, and so we might as well move into the first topic. What upset you in this movie?
Well, how long you got, Mr. Vozly? I can't say I did not like this movie. I'll say this. Many things upset me about this movie. One thing that upset me about this movie was...
Kmax just unrolled a scroll, by the way.
It was just honestly, I felt like when something feels self-indulgent, I immediately recoil. When something feels self-indulgent, I feel like, okay, yeah, you're scary. Oh, you're artsy. Oh, I get it. This is. When I feel that, I'm immediately recoil and I pull away, and then I put up my defenses of, okay, let's see how smart you are. Let's see how clever you are at spinning this, and right from the very artsy and bright artwork that seemed like very druid, almost like modern depictions of like druid markings and things, like modern depictions of them, very artsy, like quilt work, like a patchwork quilt type of all of these somewhat disturbing images, and you're like, okay, there's some heavy foreshadowing here. And it's gonna, and I get this is gonna be a really, really intense roller coaster ride here. It's gonna psychologically grab me, and it's gonna take me on this journey, and it's gonna, it's like, or it better, and to me, the payoffs weren't there for how rich all of those images were. There was like, oh, okay, I guess that's what this was. I guess, all right, it felt like it was. There's the scene in Moment in December that shows this tree blowing, and it's like, you ever see a tree that's blown by the wind its whole life? It grows up bent. I think I'm like one of those trees. It's this very artsy opening scene. I don't know if the rest of the movie is worthy of that artsy opening scene, and even so, I can criticize myself and say I'm almost cringe at that because the rest of it's very lighthearted and a lot of surface conversations. And then when I look back at that, I cringe a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I really didn't live up to that image, that foreshadowing really good. So I thought that was the first thing that kind of set me on a bad path. Because I saw it, and I'm like, okay, here it comes. And then it just became more of a, these are maybe just almost like a color by numbers. Yep, we set the pattern up. Now we're going to color it for you. Now we're going to connect the dots for you. Maybe that's good filmmaking. I didn't think so. So I felt like it was a little self-indulgent there. With tons of artsy symbolism I have written down here. I wrote that I didn't care about any character except for Dani. And maybe that's on purpose. Like the rest of the characters were grossly underdeveloped. I felt like some characters were unjustly punished. Obviously, I mean, spoiler, if anybody is ever sacrificed, I feel like you've been unjustly punished if you're ever sacrificed. That's just my own personal take. I felt like I didn't care enough for any of the characters that were meeting their demise, not because I didn't care for them or I'm a heartless. Not that I'm made of tin, but I didn't care for them because I didn't know enough about them. I just felt like they were just vehicles. And maybe that's what they were supposed to be. Maybe I was supposed to be just singularly focused on Dani's journey. And if that's the case, then maybe I'm okay with that. But to me, it was distracting that these things are happening around these people, and they're all acting a little bit like, just run. I mean, it's like horror story 101, like slasher film 101. You've witnessed this. Get the heck out of there. And at some points, I feel like maybe that's part of it. That the fact that they stuck around is maybe part of the horror. Like somehow they couldn't leave. But in my head, though, I'm like, no, there's every opportunity to leave. There's opportunities to get out of here. And the fact that they've seen things and it just kept escalating. And they'd even say things over and over and over again. I mean, I swear, 45 minutes of film of them saying, he wouldn't have gone by himself. He would have never gone by himself. Like, that was so distracting. They said it a million times, and then the next person said it. Then the next person said it. I'm like, okay, we get it. Yeah, it's creepy. Yeah, there are some things not right with this group. We saw that days ago. And it just kind of plodded along a bit, too. So I felt like it felt a lot of times it was trying to fill time. And that was a little bit annoying to see that the movie was like, okay, you got this. You set the backdrop. I seen them create her grief, Dani's grief, so vividly, and I could feel it. I could feel it like through the screen, her grief, and I could see the neglect of Christian not being a great, strong, committed boyfriend. But then, it didn't prepare me for him being set up for his demise at the end. It was the fact that he was painted that way. I could see where they were kind of going with it, but I'm like, you didn't do a good enough job of painting him as someone who was negligent or even awful he wasn't a great boyfriend, certainly. And he wasn't, I think he was a slacker. You could see that he was uncommitted even in his graduate project. Mm-hmm. He was what he was. And she chose him. And you could see through their conversations that he was kind of a dismissive a-hole and he was weak and that he couldn't even stand up to his friends to say, to stand up to her either. He was just kind of a pushover. But that, him being used as that vehicle, I'm like, if he's being punished, if there's some kind of justice being served to him, I'm like, I don't get it. Again, I'm against any kind of human sacrifice like that. There was another one that was like, I said on there's so much yuck around them to stick around. It was, I get that it's a horror flick, and I get that it's similar to Skin 'em Rink. It was infuriating me throughout, and I feel like, maybe that's what the filmmaker's trying to do. I'm like, great, then I would have walked out in 5 minutes. Is that what the filmmaker's trying to do? Because that was what I would have done if I wasn't enjoying the company of my good friend and some excellent. If you ever had that blackberry ginger ale,
then shout out Canada Dry.
Right, because I would have been done and out. Because I'm like, if that's what a filmmaker's trying to do to create a sense of grief or a sense of uneasiness, I'm like, I don't know if I'm in that league, and I'll say yet to be able to endure that and still get the message it's trying to say, because my free time is finite, and generally films are to entertain me or to make me feel a certain way. And even though we're doing this for like a kind of like a fun for the show and I want to be prepped up and I want to be prepared, there's still some things that I'm watching and I'm like, I am feeling this way, and maybe the filmmaker's trying to make me feel this way, but my first reaction stuck around a lot longer than most first reactions, because there's been movies that I really wasn't my favorite, but the first reaction, I think maybe even The Ritual was the last one. I didn't like it right at the first, but after like even a day, I was texting you some things that I was learning, and then by the time we recorded, I was like, I'm all in on this. Felt way different. This one, time has only increased my anger.
You're just like, let's get this over with.
Right, honestly, I mean, that was almost it. I texted Voz in pre-production. I'm like, not much pre-production. Let's just roll. Because I'm like, it's all very, usually I try to have notes to keep myself kind of on track. But this time I'm like, I'm just going to keep these surface notes here so I remember who people are. And then I'll just respond to things the best I can, because, it angered me at a little bit of pretension. It angered me at the plotting storyline. It angered me at the undeveloped, in my opinion, some characters besides Dani, maybe. And there was just so much yuck happening for me to believe that people would stand in the pocket. The pass rush was too great. They should have flushed the pocket and got the heck out of there best they could. And maybe that would have been a story that I'm like, okay, you can't get out. Just show me one thing where you can't escape. And I know that's the one where they took the one and said, if you want to leave, here's how your way out. And he's already gone. He went ahead of you. We only had 2 passengers. And it was such flimsy excuse. I'm like, collectively, take care of each other and get out of there. Anyway, and it's just, those are just a few things. And then, again, I think that Pelle or Sven, he was just a master manipulator, and he played his role well. But he gets the girl, he gets the cult gets, she's not in my opinion, she's not healed. She is turned full into psychosis. She is. I'm just telling you why I hate it, because we can get into that, but I'm like, we're using this as a vehicle to describe grief, and I'm like, you're being turned into, not turned heel, but like, you're sick.
I'll buy that. I'll buy turning heel.
Okay. You're sick. You've not healed. You're sick. So I think that might be enough to start with. That's a good primer.
Okay. So I'm going to make sure I say this before I go into what upset me. This entire episode is going to be filled with perspectives and stances that are probably going to vary greatly between us, which means they're also going to vary greatly with whoever's listening to this.
Oh, yeah.
But so far, what I find interesting is that out of all the things that you've listed so far of what upset you, they're all the filmmaking and not the story itself. Because all the stuff I have is the story itself. And not from I'm upset that you did this. It's more upset that the depictions themselves, the story itself, making you upset, making me angry, making me sad, the way that a story naturally does. So things that got me upset, Christian's maltreatment or lack of fairness for his character.
Yeah.
So for me, you see this character, you could say, yes, he lacks empathy. He's lazy. He doesn't really support Dani. But on the flip side, from the moment he's introduced, his life keeps getting interrupted with Dani's issues, and not in a bad way. I mean, Dani's got the family issues. Mm-hmm. She's got a sister. There's no saying that she shouldn't be supported, but if you're going to say that she needs support 100% of Christian's time, now how fair are we being to Christian? That's and right. If he's out with the guys and it gets interrupted, he goes on a trip, it gets interrupted, and he could have broken up with her, which right after her sister commits murder-suicide, imagine him breaking up with her at that moment, what kind of scumbag he'd come off as. Mm-hmm. So, you want to talk about sticking in the pocket. Yeah. That could be a version of sticking in the pocket. Like, I'm doing what I can, and he tries to, it seems like during that relationship, it was anytime he would try to do anything outside, even the party, she was, she's grieving, she's coping, she's laying in bed, and he comes in to check on her in the bedroom, and she wakes up, and he's like, I was going to go to the party for 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. And she's, I'll come. So another thing that he can't get any space from that situation. And like I said, Dani needs the support, but if he can't escape for 45 minutes from this depressed person, I don't know if I'd call that fair, that he's tasked to be by her side 24/7.
Yeah.
There's married people that are just gonna be like, okay, you stay in bed, I'm gonna go out with the guy.
Well, I felt that way too about him as that was happening. I think we both kind of said, "Whoa," because you see the text too. You see the text, and then another text, and then the call, and then calls right back. And his buddies are even like, "Come on," all this. I totally agree with that he was being painted that way. The couple of things that made me feel like, okay, maybe he is worse are some of his buddies' reactions to her calling back. Mm-hmm. Almost like they seen that he was like blatantly annoyed with her. Well, if that's the case, then just cut her loose then,
Right.
I think that I'll go that far as saying that he maybe deserves some things, but...
Right. And like I said, he may have been contemplating that, and then the very next call he gets is her just completely sobbing and angry and sad and, all of the emotions. When do you do it then?
Yeah, I know. And it seemed like everything after that was just... And that's why I always thought... Again, I'm not trying to defend him super.
No,
but exactly. I felt like there was some redeeming things about him for sticking in the pocket and saying, even as a friend, I'm not going to leave you alone here. Because it seemed like she would have been utterly alone. Mm-hmm. In a world of underdeveloped characters, there were no other characters, in my opinion. So it's like there's no one else she would have turned to. And I want to stop for a second and say, boy, I felt for her so much in this. Mm-hmm. From the word go, I felt for her from the word, just horrible for her. She's in a position where you can tell she loves her parents, right? Because she's like messaging them or whatever. And then you could tell that she loves her sister dearly. And even though her sister's, has a sickness, you can tell she still loves her and is worried about her. And so like, Dani's got some issues, but most of her issues are her grief, are their grief issues, like living grief, like not dead grief or the trauma of the event. But like she's like, if Christian's guilty of anything, it's that because he even makes the comment about, with your sister. Well, your sister, is this another comment that she makes?
Did this 2 days ago or whatever. 2 days ago. She does this every other day or something.
And then he just put back like, this one's different,
But but that's the little bit of dialogue that lets us, the audience, know, oh, this isn't an isolated incident.
Yeah.
And to me, anyway, you get the sense that Christian, he may be looking for a way out, but right now he's just trying to breathe.
Yeah.
And he keeps getting dragged back in.
That's right. The comment that his one buddy makes, though, is that, like, if I'll find someone else. He looks at the waitress that walks away.
Right.
And then he goes, she might actually like he says something about sex.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel like Christian's brought it up before. And I don't think that's cool, right? Like, if that's your thing, then find someone else then. You know what I mean?
And again, for anyone that's pure hatred on Christian, okay, if he's not in it, cut it off. Mm-hmm. But like we said, the very next call, there's literally no time between when we see that depiction and when she calls him sobbing of what happened.
Yeah.
When are you supposed to do it then?
That's true.
Then the way that he goes to it wasn't just he's sacrificed by Dani, or Dani chooses him to be killed off.
Yeah.
It's that he's pretty much framed, right? Mm-hmm. Raped. Like if we're accepting all the things in this movie, then we're accepting that yes, that those runes had magic powers, the drink with the hair in it.
Sure.
Whatever else, whatever other magic, whatever
blown in his face.
Yeah. If we're accepting all that as true, then yes, he was raped because
Absolutely.
he was forced to do that against his will.
Well, even the finishing, the woman behind him,
tush push,
the tush push, the real tush push. like forcing him. To me, that was like a picture of he probably maybe he didn't want to.
Like, right, he could have been fighting back.
Yeah, and then but there was
holding it in.
honestly, yeah, you had Saquon Barkley pushing him from behind there. You know, and honestly, in that moment, I was like, it was, and I get that I was supposed to be so uncomfortable, but you can kind of see his panic. He's not.
Well, again, that's why I said in the story, that's what upsets me. You know, is
okay.
not so much, oh, the filmmaker did this and didn't write the character one way or another.
Yeah.
It's the actual, it's seeing the character get treated this way.
Yeah. I felt a little bit. I'm sorry. I felt a little bit of that defensiveness for Josh also.
Josh was the thesis writer.
Yeah. The intellect, the one who had the deep passion for understanding this, and we had a little conversation about it right after watching it about him, and you know what did he do wrong, and I get what he did wrong by violating their ceremonies by taking a picture of something they said not to take a picture of, and he said he promised he wouldn't. But he was deceived by being invited to this thing. He was who he was when they were all hanging out, being buddies in college or whatever. Pell, I think I'm saying his name right.
Pele
Does
that sound right?
Brought him on board, knowing of all this, right? Knowing he had this intellectual curiosity, and so he didn't change who he was. He was going there, and he was going to fall prey to that. He was going to want to know, and now it's like his character is not deserves, but his character is off because he violated this. And I'm like, that's who he is, and you brought him here knowing that he wanted to do his doctorate on this.
Well,
and he wanted to do it seemingly for his own reasons, but he was also, we seem to differentiate between him and Christian. He actually cared about to learn and share about if he's guilty of anything, he wanted to be too thorough and present too much.
For me, I wasn't, when it was revealed that Pele brought them all in to be part of this, it didn't really, I guess it didn't bother me that, you said it was Josh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Josh. That he was off the way he was. Because we could have said, oh yeah, he violated their sacred text and ruling not to take pictures. But it was the whole reason that he was brought there.
Yeah, that's right.
Those people were supposed to be the sacrifices. They said at the very end, Pele brought these people here, and now we have our May Queen, and kind of explains it.
Yeah.
So at that point, when you thought of, why don't they try to escape? To me, once they explained these people were there to be sacrificed and to take part of this ritual, they weren't going to escape. They were never going to escape. No. That's why there's only one car. That's probably why someone drove the car away after it happened. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it took, 4 hours to get to the next town? Yeah. So my thought was, they're never escaping. They were stuck there right from the start, and this whole thing was to find their May Queen, to bring in the new blood, that sort of thing. So, but the next thing that kind of, I guess, upset me in the story was the lack of regard for people in your life. So this is demonstrated by pretty much all the characters, including Dani. And the biggest upsetting factor, it was because almost everyone in the story was doing it. So it's going to be hard to say yes, Dani was doing it. But I'm going to say that, yes, Dani was doing it. And yes, she was grieving, but we've seen in other examples like Talk to Me that even in your own grieving sorrow state, you can cause harm to others if you're not paying attention. And as the story progresses, you see characters showing their true, borderline selfish tendencies. So Mark was the epitome of that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like peeing on the sacred tree, and then just the way he was. You knew he's a selfish guy.
Everything about him.
And Mark, we see a little bit more like a slow reveal, where he's there to learn, he's there to They're with friends. They're there to experience the stuff that he's been studying. Mm-hmm. But then it turns into, well, it's all my life's work. It's all me. I need to take this picture, and it turns into, no, you're not sharing this with me. This is my idea, and it's kind of like, well, it's someone else's culture. It's not even your idea. Mm-hmm. It doesn't belong to you at all. So, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So you kind of see a little bit more self-centeredness there. And kind of the same thing with Christian, because at first he's giving of himself. He's consoling Dani, and I'll go deeper into that in a bit. But he's consoling Dani, and then as we get a little bit further on, there's one instance there where he's decided to do his thesis on the Harga, and he's talking with one of the elders, and Dani comes up and says, "So-and-so's gone," and he's like, "Wow, that's crazy." And then he goes back to talking.
Yeah.
So you could, it's that moment that she even kind of looks at him like,
I remember. Yeah, that was a.
And so then you start to see, oh, all of these people are just fanning away from each other because they're chasing their own interests. And we can turn that same gaze on Dani also, because she starts to, take this as you will, we'll discuss it, but, kind of focusing on herself. And right now I don't mean that in like a bad way, but in order to find happiness, she's got to focus on herself. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean it doesn't affect others though. And then we see the epitome of that at the end there when, oh, he hurt me. I saw him having an affair. I want him to die. Mm-hmm. That's a little, that's a pretty big self-centered thing to do, is kill someone because they wronged you. That's
and the thing is too is she's not dumb. She's pretty aware of things around her the whole film. Mm. So she's in trauma, but she hasn't lost her sensibilities throughout the movie. She seems to be the one that's aware of things as they're happening, where the rest of them are kind of clueless. They're just playing. That's why I said they're pylons in a movie. Like, oh, I gotta be this. That was especially, was it Mark? One guy is, I gotta be this horse's A. I gotta pee on the tree. I have to say this. I have to say I have to do the drugs. Come on, we gotta do it now. We're gonna about the drugs, even like stuff like that. She there's some things that she did that I felt were a little out of character. I don't know if the filmmaker was trying to say where trauma will do that to you. Well, that's kind of a cop out, It's like, because trauma will do some weird stuff to you, and grief will do some weird stuff to you. But I thought she made a big leap from being hurt and even sitting at the table. I think that might be the last time they were close to each other, her and Christian, when he says, well, he say weird or something when that happened or something, or crazy. That's crazy. And then they weren't super close together after that. I don't think so. Mm-hmm. And then she gets pulled away to the dance, and he gets at the drinking the stuff. He sees as she gets away as the May Queen, he gets pulled down this flower petal garden.
Yeah.
Under the influence of drugs that were not forced upon him, but pretty much forced upon him. And he ends up. I don't want to totally give him a pass. Because there were you could tell there were some curiosities when he saw that girl.
To start, sure. And, he forgot Dani's birthday, too.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not defending Christian.
Yeah.
I'm just saying no character is free from scope here.
Right.
The last thing that I guess upset me is the religion, obviously, their culture, however you want to put it. Human sacrifice, again, you could lump that in with a disregard for other people's lives, but as you said, anything that's using human sacrifice, pretty past it. and even though the people, like, some were willing, but part of the ritual was still deceiving others and murdering them.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just that, in their culture, they offer themselves as sacrifice. even in the extreme setting, you might be able to say, okay, I guess if you're willing, this is a crazy culture,
Right,
but
right.
that's how you guys live. But the other part of that was, well, we're still going to deceive outsiders to coming in so that we can use them also. Like, okay, that's murder. Yes, that is murder.
Even the one, too, where they're giving them the drugs where they won't care, and then you see the one screaming, one of their villagers that volunteered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
moment
I'll,
right there.
I'll bring that one up too,
yeah.
definitely. So yeah, it was that view of religion, because in other depictions, the view of religion helps, and we'll go a little bit more into subversion. I think.
Sure. Like, and I mean, that was a big, if I can say that, I won't get into it, but I'll say that's one of the things that bugged me a bit too, is for again, I'm not defending because I'm ignorant of it, but I wonder, because I had to fight so hard not to look things up. Wanted to feel how the Swedes feel about this and how it depicts, because it's a real ceremony or fun, but it'd be similar to us having like midwinters or whatever, or ceremonies, and then seeing
there's
someone.
There's a few traditions in midwinters there.
Yeah,
I won't say them here.
but if someone made a film about it and like dramatized it a bit, how would we feel? And I wonder how the Swedish folks feel about this film.
Right.
'Cause I
don't know how much of it is true.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Are the Harga like a real thing as that way of celebrating Midsommar?
I know they have a celebration. I didn't dig in, but I just, from being a global studies teacher, I know they do have something called, not that, but their Midsummer celebration is a big deal. And it's a time of like rebirth and like, like a prayerful time, like a close to nature and close to God type, a very spiritual time for them.
Right.
That's all I've ever heard about.
Right.
So I wonder how they'd feel about taking that day and making it something like
I'm
this.
actually excited to look it up after we're done.
Oh gosh, there's
and
a lot.
seeing, how
there's a lot I
how
will
fun
be
it
looking.
actually seems.
I don't want to burn my Rasmus Dahlin jersey.
Or frame it.
Or frame it, yeah. Depending on how it all turns out. All right.
Let's move into the subversion of tropes and our discussion on grief. I think seeing the characters so focused on themselves in a movie that a character desperately needs friends and family is what subverts our discussion on grief the most. We said faith, family, friends, forgiveness, and community were all big pieces of processing grief.
Mm-hmm.
Dani's only friends are her boyfriend's friend group, and their offer of friendship is fake, right? I mean, they're like, why is she coming,
Yeah.
The more we get to know the people we mentioned before, the more self-centered we see them, or at least I saw them. And we don't get the sense that Dani has or ever will forget her late sister, or forget or forgive her late sister for what she did. And the bits of faith that we get, well, we just talked about, the way that this neo-pagan group operates. But there's also this character named Christian Hughes, that gets burned alive.
Yeah.
Very, maybe it wasn't on purpose, but you're going to use flames to put out a character named Christian Hughes. So take that how you will. But,
right.
And the family and community that Dani does side with is this isolated, ritualistic group that sacrifices people in some of the most brutalist ways that we've ever seen on screen. Yet, Dani finds peace and a new happiness by the end of the story. So I'm hoping, with some discussion and perspective, hopefully we can make sense of this somehow. But so far, our big discussion points have been counteracted, and I want to know how you feel about that so far.
It'd be interesting. It's hard to get past your first impression when something grabs you this way. When a film either successfully or unsuccessfully puts you in a place. When a film puts you in a place, how you feel about it, it's hard to get past that. When it's such a strong, when it does it in such an effective way. So it's going to be, this whole conversation is going to be curious to me to see if I can even have if I'm capable of having a reasonable discussion on her processing grief when I just feel like there were so many red flags about no, this is not processing grief. This is not. And obviously, it doesn't take a clinician to say, no, you don't sacrifice your dismissive boyfriend to process grief. And but it was just so off-putting. It can't help but make the conversation hard for me because, the filmmaker did that, whether it's through story or through the creation of the product. You know what I mean? The film made me feel a certain way, and I think some of it's rooted in two things. I felt so strongly deep sadness for Dani, and then you know me, I always want a rosy ending. I always want it to work out. Mm-hmm. And let's say even in
there are roses.
Yeah, there are plenty of flowers. There was no shortage of flowers. But I felt like I wanted so badly for her to heal, and then to see her taking down this road here, and I'm thinking, you're going farther away from healing.
It felt like our discussion on what was needed to grieve was heard and then mocked.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't need any of those to. In fact, I'll do the opposite with what you hold precious, and we'll still get her to a happy place.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't think I know I didn't answer that well, but I think I'm just going to have to just take it as it comes tonight, as far as the conversation goes.
Oh yeah, I'll keep you here. There's also subversion of the usual tropes of horror and tropes of peace. So, use of darkness or lack of versus the use of light. So yeah, we had a nightmare sequence in the dark, and we had the deaths in the beginning in the dark, but most of the movie takes place in the light, and that's where most of the horrible things happen, where it's clear as day what you're looking at. It's not hidden in the dark, it's not hidden in shadow. Nope, there's a person, he just jumped off the cliff and he landed head first on, well, the guy was feet first, but
yeah. The woman did it right. The old lady did it right. She took a header.
But everything's shown in the light that's horrifying. So I thought that was interesting. And obviously the flip side of that is the light didn't allow for good things either. Like you usually see light like, heaven's light, goodness versus bad,
there's
light versus dark.
There's an escape.
But light was even the horrible villagers wore white, pure white. So it subverted what we usually expect out of light and dark. Right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. You might even argue that the only time there was peace is when it was dark in their barracks.
There's sleep. When they go to sleep, it's like boop, next day. There's little scenes that take place at night, and even I might bring this up in a bit, but I thought it was interesting the babies crying.
It's funny. I was thinking the exact same thing just now.
To me, that kept us reminded that it's a story about grief and that she's still in the process. That's because we were introduced to that extreme sobbing in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you got conditioned by it. So when you heard that sobbing by the baby every single night, it's letting you know there is no peace with Dani yet. That's what it felt like. Anyway, flowers. Usually signs of peace, love, happiness, rebirth. And now they're associated with this group. They found their May Queen, and they're showering her with flowers. So this group is adorning with flowers, and it's kind of like gives you icky feeling.
Oh yeah,
about these flowers. Like they're not by the for other reasons.
Sticky icky. Ooh wee. If I could quote Snoop.
Yeah. And then the fairy tale structure I thought was interesting, because we grew up with fairy tales, the Disney movies, where it's usually a girl that comes from nothing, who finds out she's important and becomes queen of a distant magical kingdom, and she lives happily ever after, from rags to riches.
With her adoring court, with her adoring subjects.
Mm-hmm. And we get that here too. A very twisted version, but almost verbatim what happens, We had the bear in the cage. And to me, well, I think in general, a bear means strength and masculinity, right? Mm-hmm. And this bear comes already caged. And to me, it gives you a sense of hierarchy of danger, is what it felt like. You have a bear that is ferocious and strong and feared. And these people just have it caged in the middle of the field like it's nothing. To me, that sends a big red flag about how dangerous these people can be.
In my head, I had so many questions from there. That gave me so much tension throughout. That the fact that they had this caged bear, full-grown bear, just in the middle of their campus.
Mm-hmm. And he's easily tamed. So we said strength and masculinity, but he's easily tamed. He's manipulated and ultimately sacrificed. So I thought that was another thing, another subversion of what we usually get out of a lot of these symbols. Mm-hmm. And then my own perception of faith is, I guess on my faith specifically, is based on love. And the Harga have a very twisted version of that. Mm-hmm. Because what they say makes sense to an extent. It's just how they execute it. It's about community, and it's about living for a higher cause and living for the community and the people. But the way they do it is, okay, you've lived 72 years or whatever it is. You're gone. Time for the new people.
We're going to give you dignity. You don't have to deal with aging or death. You don't have to deal with sickness.
Right. The way that they say the stuff, the way they act is very different than the principle of what they believe, I guess.
I think one of the things that was off-putting to me was the perversion of what I believe ceremony and faith can be.
It was a perversion of, like I said, our entire conversation on grief, it felt like.
Yeah.
I know you said it's going to be hard for you to take another side of this.
Well, you can tell how bitter I am just by how horrible horrible my dinghy is.
And no attempt to correct either. Just like, that's what you get.
No, that's it. Usually I'll sit there and
clunk. That's it.
Me and Tinhead,
Tinhead.
We've always we have tried to fix that, and I would look at him, almost like looking at Voz over here.
Well,
like,
you do it, Voz.
That's what you get. That's what you get.
So we're going to ask ourselves, did Dani successfully process grief? And we're going to try our best to take both sides.
Okay.
So we're both going to be on the same side.
Okay.
But we'll spend time on both sides of this. We'll defend that she did not, and we will defend that she did.
Let's do it. This is going to be interesting.
Now, I know we may have some bias, but I want to at least try our best for each viewpoint.
I'll be honest with you. We do this as an exercise in English class, where you have to, if you're making a good argument, you have to at least examine the counterpoint.
Yep.
And without that, you can't make a solid, good argument.
Right.
Claim. So let's go.
Yeah, if you can't poke holes in your own thing, how solid. So, all right. So we're going to defend that she did not grieve successfully.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to ask us 3 questions.
I don't know why I'm laughing. Nervous laughter.
All right. Here's the first one. We've been talking about how grief is a personal journey to find happiness again after deep sorrow. How then can we say she did not grieve successfully if she finally finds happiness and belonging? So remember, we're defending that she did not.
We're defending that she didn't heal?
That she did not grieve successfully.
Okay. So we're defending that she did not grieve successfully. Well, she did have this smile, right? Mm-hmm. At the very end. Mm-hmm. She did have a belonging to this Harga. and that's a family type thing. We have evidence of that, and them all moaning with her, or like crying with her and weeping, but it's a perversion. So we're defending that she didn't grieve properly right now.
Correct.
So something can look real close to the real thing, but being a click off here is being hugely off there.
Like a degree this way on a big enough trajectory.
Well, that's exactly how I felt about it. Is yes, you might feel somewhat comforted by these things, but it's almost the opposite. You might be comfortable in something that can be so scary and harmful, and that's where I feel like I think she's farther away from being okay than she was when she started.
I think that little grin at the end, when this question asks, she finally finds happiness and belonging. You might say belonging with the community, but that happiness, that little smile at the end, to me says that was vengeance you took
absolutely.
On Christian. That wasn't you grieving. That was the vengeance that you took in this new perversion of life that you have now.
Yeah, it's like you're tumbling more towards disorder than who she was, because she seemed like a sweet person, like the victim, like innocent, and then all of a sudden with that, it's like, and she's not so far from being still the innocent person stumbling around dancing in the competition there. Mm-hmm. She still had a sweetness there, and it seems like she turned till she saw him more or less being raped, for lack of a better term. So I'm like, I get that can be traumatizing, right? Obviously, if I saw any of that scene, it would have been traumatizing. But no.
And I think that, quote, happiness, you can find a snapshot of a lot of people that are grieving happy in a moment. But when it's actual happiness, it's something that's sustained. And I don't think we get that.
And it's something that is healthy for you and those you love, right? And it's something that's healthy. It's something that is, if there's something that's really healing, there's good fruit there. They're giving good, there's good things that are coming of them and to them and around them. And that's the opposite. What's happening is the opposite. And so that her smile is born of that moment. It's contrary to healing.
How about this question? You ready?
Yeah.
We've heavily discussed facing the pain as an important part of grieving. Dani did this and improved her level of happiness after doing so. So why wasn't it successful? She's improved herself and she's faced the pain.
Good question. So she's improved herself. She has a family and belonging now. And she's faced the pain. She's had the crying moment with all of them, and they all kind of just like
her self-esteem is better.
And I really feel like there is amount of healing in there, finding people obviously. The problem is though, it's fruit of the poisonous tree. It's everything that's positive that comes of this is all tainted. It's all corrupt. Again, I think that's the best way of saying it. It's fruit of the poisonous tree. It's born of deception. It's manipulation, and I guess that's another thing that I was a little bit defensive about throughout the film, right? Is I feel like those are precious things. Ceremony and ritual, faith, things like that seem very precious to me. And I felt pretty defensive that they're showing this character, Dani, being like this, being healed, this regenerated. No, it's corrupt. It's a corruption. And I almost felt defensive like I did with Mother. Remember how that was, where I was like saying, I don't like that this is dismissing organized religion or faith, and you know what I mean, like genuine faith. It's kind of dismissing it as mocking it almost. And so I guess my defenses were up about that too. So I guess specifically, if I can break it down to a little bit more granular level, I felt like what Dani was going through, she was everything that the film appeared that she was healing was all corrupt. It was all bad because it was born of deception and murder and all these dark, awful, yucky, gross things.
So I'm going to ask you this one then.
Oh dear.
So, in response to your answers here, isn't grief a personal journey? And the way you're talking, is there a correct way to grieve then?
I can't say there's a correct way to grieve, right? Because it is a personal journey. But I can say there are incorrect ways to grieve, like drugs and abuse and crime, murder. You know what I mean? Like, I think what I get out of a movie like this is it's a cautionary tale, right? Because you see this young lady who needs to grieve, desperately needs to grieve. She desperately needs a rally. But I still feel bad for her. I still, like, if she exists right now, I want to go rescue her. It's my nature. I want her to be okay. She was not okay, and she had a guy who probably could have taken care of her heart better, but I don't think he's so awfully guilty either. He was just a dude, right? But like,
he's a college dude.
Yeah, he was
it's not like he was a man.
Yeah, honestly, he was a college guy. He was
probably 21.
And he was definitely
maybe
a slacker by nature. You could tell. But like, I think the cautionary tale is people try to grieve. Grief demands to be felt. Pain demands to be felt. That's from Imperial Affliction from The Fault in Our Stars. And I've always liked that quote. Pain demands to be felt. So grief is going to be dealt with or not, but it's still going to be there. And people mask it any way they can, through sex, through drugs, through rock and roll, through drinking. I just want to be numb. I don't want to feel this way.
Was Dani then masking with this assimilation into the community then?
I feel like maybe the filmmaker was trying to say that she maybe posing the question though, that she might have been grieving and she might have gotten to the other side of it where she's accepting with a smile. But it's almost like through this deception, she's drinking the Kool-Aid, she's being deceived. And you're this me queen now, like, oh, I have status now too. Not only am I accepted, but I'm revered. But it's all poison. It's the drink. It's drinking to get blackout drunk, so I don't have to feel the pain right now. And then the smile is I'm laughing. Maya Angelou said something about the laugh that some people have in cultures that she said I think black women have. Maya Angelou, the great poet. She said, you'll hear it. And she laughed, and it sounded just like older Native women that laugh. And she said, that's a laugh of someone who's hurting, who's learned how to laugh to mask their hurt. And I felt that about this smile that Dani had. It's like you've taken this because you need to grieve, you need to process it somehow, but it's not a positive way. And they almost feel like Christian's demise and the rest of those friends' demise is a perfect picture of, okay, this is the danger of not processing your grief. It can damage not only you, but damage those that you love.
So back to defending that she did not properly grieve, my last question is, we talked about the 5 stages of grief. And if she hits all 5 of them, why do we not count it as grieving?
Okay, give me the 5 again, would you? So it's like anger, right? Denial.
Yeah, we've got anger, denial, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Anger.
They don't have to be in any specific order.
Yeah.
I assume acceptance has to be last, though.
Right. It seems like it. I think anger's last. Wait, I've been doing this wrong a long time.
I've accepted it first. But I'm real depressed.
We're peeling the onion here, man. We're learning a lot of stuff right now. Sorry for anyone.
I accepted it, no problem.
Yeah, it's fine.
Denial came next.
I've just been angry ever since. I'm just like constantly angry. Yeah, let me think about that one. Say that again.
So if we're defending that she didn't properly grieve, how come she... can you say then she didn't grieve if she's gone through all 5 steps of grief?
That's a good question. Because it seems like she certainly has accepted things by the end.
She's accepted things. She's had her bit of anger.
She's been angry.
She's had her denial. And she's had her bargaining. She's been depressed the whole movie.
Well, bargaining has happened for a good part of the movie too. Like, do I stay? Do I deserve more? Do I?
Right.
Even the idea of with Pele, do I go with him? Do I stay with Christian? Do I?
Yeah, do I deserve more than him? Do I stay with him because it's what I know? So she's hit all 5 of these.
Yeah, I think she's hit all 5, but I don't think that she's.
And
it's almost
here's a tricky thing, because if we say otherwise, these 5 pillars of grief might come tumbling down. Well, they don't matter then. If you could go through them, then it still doesn't matter.
I guess I look at it this way, like the giant slalom at the Olympics, right? You have all these gates, all these flags all over the place, and you have to hit them in the right order, in the right way. Otherwise, the flags mean nothing. The gates and the benchmarks mean nothing, right? In the giant slalom, like skiing. Mm-hmm. I feel like that same way with the pillars of grief. That she hit them, but she didn't hit them in the right way. She didn't hit him in the right way. She didn't, because it was all corrupted because of the lies that she was told and the manipulation that would happen. And that's like a sociopathic way to, I'm going to force you through these wickets to complete the course. But it's all fruit of the poisonous tree. It's because it was began and the purpose of it were corrupt. None of the process counts, I guess. Yeah, it sounds like a cop-out answer, but...
Well, here's how I see it then. So, you hit the 5 stages, but each of the stages, your focus on each stage wasn't the right thing. So, yes, you cried, but now you're crying at a new thing. You weren't crying at...
Oh, I see. Yeah.
The parent, and then the acceptance. I don't think you accepted the right thing here. You've acted before you've accepted, because if you've truly accepted, you can choose to forgive, you can let it go, or you can also wait and see what the truth was. Mm-hmm. You looked in that keyhole, you saw 20 naked women, and then your boyfriend having sex with a woman. You're telling me you weren't at all worried why there's 20 other women in there that you are now being celebrated by? Were you focused on the right thing when you looked through there? Where you weren't at all worried that, this is off. Mm-hmm. I think Christian might actually be in trouble because unless he's having the time of his life with 20 other women in this thing.
And again, why is the old woman forcing his hips forward? You know what I mean? That's a question. I think that's a question that begs to be asked. Why is she delivering the finishing blow for him?
So to me, though, it's like you mentioned the 1 degree off, the trajectory's off.
Yeah.
So each stage is a bullseye. You're hitting the outermost piece of the target and then moving on. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
So I would counteract with, she's not hitting those stages correctly. Not hitting them where they should be hit.
Yeah, and I don't think I think it's important that we say that that's not us saying that your journey isn't unique. Everybody's journey, because everybody's journey is unique. It is unique, but there's still, again, the course of grief is still set. Your journey might be different, but there are still guideposts that you have to hit correctly. You can't just, I hit that, okay.
Like get close enough and whack it with your stick.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's the only way. The best thing I can. It's probably horrible. Like I think of the giant slalom. Like you lose time, you get penalized for not hitting it the right way. And the same thing is.
That's a good analogy, though.
Right, because
by the time you get to the end, it's like, oh, no, you got penalized quite a bit.
You didn't even finish. You were
your
so
time
far
is like
back.
8 minutes now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, right. There's no reward for it. You're not. And the reward for healing is wellness, right? Is joy and wellness and all these wonderful things. I don't think she's got that in front of her.
A colloquial sense of wellness too, not just you feel good in this moment because you just got your revenge. That's not colloquial wellness. All right, so we went with the easy one first.
It's the best word, by the way. Best word of the podcast so far.
What? Colloquial.
Yeah. That means means private school. No, it doesn't. That's parochial. My bad.
I like the 2-parter, colloquial wellness.
Oh, my gosh. You know? I know at least one listener that's going to really love that. And by the way, shout out to National Psychologist Week.
Oh,
It's a thing. Celebrated at work today. There should have been cake.
give a shout out there, Kmax.
Well, then our listener and friend of the podcast, I cannot say because we'll be very very private person, but I will say this: the psychologists all around the place and all around districts, they should be celebrated, especially ones that listen to this podcast and have made cookies for the pod.
Yeah. We'll call her Lisa S. No,
Yeah.
that's too obvious. L. Simpson.
L. Simpson, that's right. That is so good.
All right. So now we got to reverse our caps here.
Oh, boy.
Let's defend that she did grieve properly.
Let's try it.
And we're going to flip it. So now these questions are going to come at us. And we're going to say that, no, it was proper. She did it. However she could, she grieved.
This is tricky. All right, let's go.
Okay, let's try it. We brought up in recent discussions that lashing out and hurting those around you was associated with ineffective grieving. How can we say grieving was effective with all the death and destruction that came with it?
Well, it did push her from the place where the event happened. So let's say you're at point A. Even though there was death and destruction and all this disease, she still did move from that place. She wasn't just stuck at that one place still in absolute anger or denial. She wasn't just stuck there. She moved. There was motion. So I think that I would defend, regardless of the yuck, and there was plenty of yuck. She moved, and because she moved, we might see her grieving, not healed, but we might see her grieving, moving somewhere down the grieving process because she moved. There's evidence of movement.
Okay.
That was hard to do.
I would, if I'm in this position that I'm in, I would argue that each of those relationships that she had were toxic and that they needed to be cut out anyway. So a boyfriend that wasn't empathetic, that wasn't in it for the long haul, that wasn't there emotionally when I needed him to be. You had Mark, that he was there he was there to do his thesis. Josh was there to do his thesis. And Mark was the very essence of selfishness there. Mm-hmm. Just chasing his own id. I gotta have the drugs, I gotta have the sex, I gotta have the drink, I
gotta pee where I want.
I gotta pee on the ceremonial tree. So I would argue that those were cuts that needed to be made from her life in order to find happiness and peace. I think that's what I would say.
Okay, I would buy that she did get separation from those. Yeah, that's not wrong.
Again, if I have to have this stance,
yeah, sure.
That's the way I got to look at it.
Right.
Our second question.
Oh boy, there's more.
Can we as a society really accept that Dani should feel happiness after everything that happened to the people around her?
Of course we can. Because we felt so strongly for her. Oh gosh, this feels like American society, Western civilization society right now.
Yeah.
Because it's her story. We can't tell her how to feel. She's felt the pain of her own experience. And yes, there were sacrifices that had to be made, but it's her story. And she needed to come to this point, and that's what's important. So the ends justify the means.
Yeah, if she's our main character, it is her story.
It is her story. And she's smiling at the end. And you know what? A smile means that everything's okay.
And she's got two choices. She lives as she's been living in depression and sadness, or she finds some self-esteem and breaks off the people that are making her feel that way.
I need to say this too, girl power. She showed him.
Well, he showed her, too, if you know what I mean.
He showed her. He was forced to show her.
Well, she showed him
She
through a keyhole.
showed him through the keyhole, and then she showed him
By the seashore.
right. Hey, I got to be honest with you. I think we did a pretty good job right there defending her. Her
So far.
grieving right there.
I mean, especially in today's society, life's tough.
Yeah.
And if your choices are feel that sadness perpetually or find any way to get better, who are we to say, no, you should stay sad?
I got to be honest with you. There's been times when I've not counseled or encouraged people, but I want to say, you know, when someone like the default setting for like not pop culture, but like not work culture, but maybe friendships, like casual friendships, is someone's hurting. Like, let's go get a drink, or let's get coffee. At very least, let's get coffee. Let's go eat or something. But I think the default very often is let's go get a drink.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you're an exception to the rule there. But like in a lot of good folks that I know, it's like that's not their way to go. But I think that's one of my default things is, hey, let's go get a drink. You know, if someone's or even raise a glass for someone that's passed. You know what I mean? And the idea, the connotation can be let's numb it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a very, very, very common thing. And I don't want to say I've subscribed to it, but I have participated in that. At the end of it, like, now we feel better, right? And I'm like, I'm not sure we did any good for this person. Mm-hmm. But it made me feel good because in that moment, I felt like, well, they're laughing again, or they're smiling again,
right?
And realize it's the Michelangelo laugh again. It's covering up for a deep hurt, an unresolved hurt. Mm-hmm. That laughter, you know, and I think you know what I'm talking about too when I say that laughter. You hear that, you know, you hear someone that you can almost hear their pain in their laughter. They laugh louder because, what is it? Sometimes, what do they say? The saddest clowns laugh the loudest.
Right.
And that's what I feel like about that kind of laughter, that kind of joy.
All right, my last question for defending Dani. We can accept that Dani has found a way to adapt to a new life and find a new community to belong to, but if that community sees human sacrifice as an important part of peace, then what does that say about your view on happiness or grieving?
Oh, my. Boy, that's a good question. Who's to say what right and wrong is?
You telling me if I'm happy or not?
Right. Who's to tell me my truth is different? I need to live my truth. So Dani's to live her truth. Again, apologies to anybody who think I'm being serious here, because I am being serious, but I'm trying to defend.
We're trying our best to defend.
So that said,
get in the mind of.
If I am the defense attorney for her, then I'm going to say this to the jury: who are you to tell her how to grieve, and who are you to tell her that this society, even that's different, this culture that's different from yours? Who are you to set the norms for them, or for what's right or wrong for them?
Right.
So she's found them. Yes, they are unique. Yes, they do some things like ritual killings and sacrifice.
That all?
Sure, they do that. But look at the smile on her face. And you think she would have gotten out of that place, or even gotten out of her sweatpants? No, she's adorned in flowers, and she's a doggone May queen.
She's a queen. She's a queen
right now.
Where would she have been if she didn't do any of this?
And she's going to live probably another at least another 45 years, based on looking like she was 20 something. She's got up to 72.
72, yeah.
Before she's got to take a header. But yes, all those things, they're unsavory, sure. But she's healed. She's in a better place.
And who defines happiness? If I had an issue with what makes you happy, does that mean you're not allowed to be happy?
Man, oh man, we're hitting some. We could hit some spicy nerves here.
There's a lot of spicy nerves here.
Yeah. We definitely could.
I'm glad I gave that warning in the beginning.
because man, oh man. If like again, I need to live my truth. I need to live. If truth is arbitrary, and it's all by chance, and we're all just meat puppets, ghosts locked in meat puppets on a rock flying millions of miles an hour through space randomly, then who's to say that this is wrong or that's wrong or this is right and that's right? So with that mentality of zero higher power accountability, what each culture does is its own standalone, and she just found her people. She found her tribe.
Yeah. In the setting that she's in, she's completely in the right.
And she's even gone so far as she's taken a hands-on approach and decided her own final step to healing by making that choice. This oppressive person, I'm washing myself of this last blemish. And she get to watch it burn. And now she's the queen. And she will live another 47, not 48 years with them. You know?
Yep.
And then she will complete her circle. She'll complete her circle, knowing that she'll have a nice fine meal, wear nice white clothes, and she'll complete her circle. And there'll be someone named after her. She'll meet that kid before she goes about it. It's beautiful. She's grieved, and she's on the path to 43 years of perfect peace.
She's found her spot.
She's found her people. If truth is certainly arbitrary, then she's fine.
Within the structure of that faith and that culture and that community, that's her spot.
I think we did a great job there.
How does that make you feel?
Feels gross. If it makes me feel angry again.
Yeah.
It makes me feel gross. It makes me feel angry. It makes me feel, I don't mind saying it feels a little slapstick, but I feel like I'm pretty good at trying to find the counter argument, because I try to explain to kids that that's important to peek at, because it helps you reinforce your argument, your stance, your thesis, because you can see what the other person's coming from. It's like being a good coach. What are they going to counter with? You know, how do I prepare for that? Yikes. And ew. Now, hey.
Hey,
That was a nice
so you
ring.
got it out of your system.
I think so. I think so.
All right, we're going to use...
Speaking of healing,
We're on a journey today.
he's like, and Kmax is no longer giving me the finger.
He's lowered the shotgun. We're going to use some important events to shape our theme here.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're not going to come up with a theme yet, but we're going to highlight the important bits that should shape it. So, I know after you and I watched the movie, I tried to gauge where you were with the theming and grasp of the movie, but I didn't get much beyond anger and resentment. So I want to try and focus on some key scenes to see if that helps it rein you in a little bit.
All right, let's do it.
So I'm going to use our classic plot structure here, okay? Inciting event, rising action,
Oh, I like this.
climax, falling action. And when we point out what each of these are, and there could be a definite answer, but whatever you perceive as it and whatever I perceive as it, we'll kind of discuss it.
I'm very interested in this.
All right. What do you see as your inciting event?
The inciting event is the tragic death of her parents, the homicide-suicide, where her sister does the carbon monoxide poisoning and kills the parents in their sleep and herself.
Mm-hmm. So I did have that. I had that for my theme, definitely.
Okay.
That sparks my thought as to what this movie could be about.
Okay.
You could also see the invitation to Sweden as the inciting event.
Okay.
Like that's what gets it in motion. Like, okay, her family died. Where are we going from here? But with the invitation to Sweden, it was, okay, now we're going somewhere. We're starting our journey now.
Okay.
We have somewhere that we're going. So I think you could see it either way. What do you see as the rising action?
I think the foot of the rising action is the invitation to Sweden. I think that the event happens, and then let's do the climb. How do we get there? We get the invitation first. Then there's some push and pull between the friends and Christian. And then there's push and pull between when he says, "Oh, by the way, I invited her."
She's not coming.
In fact, the way he said it, she's not coming, but I invited her. She'll probably say she's coming. She's going to say she's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told her she's coming. She said she's coming, but she's not coming. It's just like, that's all part of the rising action to me, even to a point of them arriving there, to the commune. I felt like that was all part of the rising action.
Okay. To me, I had this idea of people in her, because depending on how you saw the inciting event, they're already on that trajectory. So on that trajectory, I have people in her life, her old life, being removed one by one. So each big scene that we remember on the way to the climax is someone getting offed or some big death or something, like when the two elders sacrifice themselves, and then when Mark dies, when Josh dies. So I saw each of those scenes as kind of like the rising action to what we're getting at here, and also with her finding more and more acceptance with the Harga. They bring her in, she starts cooking with them, and she starts dancing with them. So I saw that as the rising action. Mm-hmm. Does that sound...
yeah, it does.
Okay. And also in the background of that, I have her growing apart from Christian. Mm-hmm. So each scene that we have before the climax deals with one of those ideas.
And I did feel like she was healing a little bit when I saw that. When she was getting her feet under her, growing apart from Christian, it felt very healthy to me, seeing some of that. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, good for you.
And to me, it felt familiar. It felt warm because sometimes you just need to be snapped out of it too. Mm-hmm. And like the Harga were like, okay, you're going in there with the women, you're going to help cook. And she goes in there and they just tie a apron around her and get her to work. And it was okay. And you could tell like that had some healing effect, that sense of community, sense of purpose, sense of responsibility, some sort of normalcy again. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to just sit and mope.
Right.
Let's get you to work.
Yeah.
Let's
get in the kitchen with people like-minded.
Let's give you a purpose here. Yeah.
Create something.
So what did you see at the climax?
It's a real tough one because I think it could be one of three things, more clearly one of two things, but I picked the climax as the scene where, where she looks through the keyhole. To me, it's like the climax is the climax. Like that moment is...
the thing is the thing.
Yeah, because I feel like, the climax could be the actual ceremony where she makes the choice also, right? Where she makes the choice between one of the commune people and Christian to be the last component. Mm-hmm. That could be it. Or then I think the actual fire. But I think the fire is more falling action, like the actual fire, setting a fire to... And again, if I'm going to pick the one that I picked, the keyhole, then I got to also think that the falling action is also the selection. Because that's just... after the climax moment, it's like you see she's changed. To me, it's like she's changed. I've seen this. I'm turned. I'm all in on this now. I am the May Queen, and I am going to make this decision.
I've got two. Okay. I got two that could be. One is, the one that we shared is when she decides that it's Christian to be sacrificed. Not the sacrifice itself, but the decision. When they present her, you could choose this person from the Harga or Christian. And that moment there is what I saw. The other one is after she looks through the keyhole and she's letting it out and she's crying. And it's because when you try to look back and find your inciting event, that thematically has to set you up to address that event during the climax. So depending on what I think is the inciting event, I gotta think would be
I see.
Addressed. So one thing I'm reminded of is in the beginning when her family dies. Christian comes over and he is standing outside in the snow by himself. And I don't know if he's contemplating leaving or not, but he's gathering himself before he goes in, and we see him sitting on the couch while she's crying in his lap. And we don't see him reacting in any way. He's just holding her. During the crying scene at the end, she's crying, and the people around her are looking her in the eye, and they're crying with her, and they're in unison with her. And so you have this idea introduced in the beginning, and you have this idea revisited in the climax, if that is the climax, of her getting that sense of family and support and love and empathy. So that's why I think that could be it right there.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm drawn more to that moment as I'm discussing it out loud. So I think that becomes my climax, is her finally crying with people. Because during the movie, there's also, she's on the plane and she escapes to go cry. Oh, even before that, when she's talking with Pele in the apartment about going to Sweden, and he's like, "Oh, I wanted to say I'm sorry," and she starts to cry, and she says, "I'm going to use the bathroom," and she cries in there alone. And on the airplane, she goes and she starts sobbing in the airplane bathroom. And then while they're at the the village, she excuses herself and she cries alone in the field by that one building.
That's right.
And now we finally get her, and she's crying almost as hard as she was in the beginning, but now this time with people that are empathizing with her and there for her. And their sole, it seems like their sole purpose in that moment is just feeling what she feels and crying with her. And so it's that support that she didn't get from the beginning. And so you introduce that in the beginning, and now you're addressing it at this climax to show that she's changed since then, or something's changed for her.
Whenever I think of a climax or whatever, the word change is essential. Like there was like the big tipping point, the change from this to this, from dark to light, from light to dark, from hot to cold, whatever. There's a change of direction.
Right.
And if that's the case, then there's a lot of evidence for that particular moment. It almost felt like a spiritual thing too. Like they were almost like in a trance type, almost like they were connected. Like, if we're looking at the supernatural again, then like they were at a connection, all of them.
And if I describe a shape or some sort of geometry that says support, you think something surrounded, like a circle around something. That's the shape that they're in.
Yeah.
They're all around her. There's she's supported on all sides by these people now.
Yeah. And this is a weird point, but if not now, when? The same thing when they talk about spiritual connectedness, when the girl's some kind of orgasmic experience when he's being forced to have sex with her, the rest of them are moaning like she is also. Right. So I couldn't help but think of that when they're grieving and crying. It felt very ceremonial, like that ritual. It felt very much like that, like there was a connection, I guess a sisterhood or a spiritual connection between them all in that moment. Yeah.
What did you see as the falling action? As we're talking now,
sure.
Does it change or is
it still
the same
for me, I still feel the keyhole, because I feel like that changed her trajectory. Like she that's the one moment where the switch was flipped. That so she had this psychic wound from that very beginning thing, from the beginning trauma, and she was always the victim of the trauma, and in that moment of the keyhole, it felt like I'm not going to be the victim anymore. I'm not going to just sit back and take this. I am going to own this, and I am going to hold, again, the final boss accountable for not taking care of me the way he should have. And then to me, the falling action would be the crying, I think, would be part of it, because she's accepted that he never was, it's about him, I guess, the Christian, and he does get put in the bear meat suit, so he is some kind of force factor in the falling action. So she's taking action against him and making a decision. She's embracing this new community. She's actively participating with this sacrifice. And we get the impression that, with the smile, that that decision from being the victim and the decision to say, this changes everything. I'm not going to be the poor little victim here. I'm going to be the ruthless, trailblazing, brave, decision-making queen. You die. I've owned it. Now I've gotten rid of that. Can't put my hands together like I was going to wipe my hands of it. And now I smile to show the culmination of that turning point.
Yeah. So if I think the climax is her crying with the group, and my falling action revolves around the idea of she's found her place and everything else can fall off, can kind of slough off.
That makes sense.
So then that's when we see Christian sacrifice. That's when we see the rest of the remnants of her old life sacrificed in that fire. And so that all kind of gets lumped. Everything that we see in the falling action revolves around that idea of she's found her place now, she's found her support. Everything else almost doesn't matter anymore.
It's interesting.
So using what you saw as inciting event, rising action, climax, falling action, I don't know if you're going to be able to think of a theme now, just based on this conversation. But let's go with a theme and why.
This bell represents my mental health, by the
way. That's our symbol right there. They're making symbols. Well, Kmax, would you like to take a stab at a theme based on your discussion today?
Yeah.
If not, I'm happy to go ahead. But
I'll take a stab at it.
All right.
I have a two-headed theme. I couldn't reduce it anymore. I could not reduce it. Maybe I can pick one. No, I'm going to go two-headed. The dangers of grief and the desperation of belonging. Like, just, you see, I think it permeates the whole thing, is grief is dangerous. And, again, pain needs to be felt. It demands it, right? So that grief is going to be, you deal with it or it deals with you, right? And so I don't think she had the vehicles. She certainly didn't have the support network to deal with it properly, right? And so grief had its way with her, and her desperate need to belong, where it should have woken her up and slapped her in the face saying, "Get the heck out of here," Instead, she embraced it. I don't think she embraced it because she felt helpless. I think she embraced it because she felt like, I do belong. She felt like these people, they've cried with me. They've showed me how to cook. They might have been nice. Honestly, besides all the killing and yuck, they might have been nicer and more genuine to her than anybody else in her life.
Mm-hmm. So your theme reminds me of, here's a quote from Gangs of New York. It said, "It's a funny feeling being taken under the wing of a dragon. It's warmer than you'd think."
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah. So that's what that reminds me of.
I gotta watch Gangs of New York again. It's been a while.
Yeah. Those performances. Oh, we're going off topic.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go through, I based mine on a few key words from what we saw. And so I'm going to go through those words before I give my formed theme.
Okay.
sacrifice. Introduced during the, is it Adistupa? Is that the first ritual they see where the
The
elders
two. I
jump
think that's
off?
what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
So, gives you this idea that sacrifice of people is to keep the collective healthy. It's their culture, sure, but it's not Dani's culture. She assimilates into it and adopts the same mindset when it comes to the people in her own life. Cuts out all of their previous ties to her life, both narratively and thematically, right? So, sacrifice. Distortion. You might remember distortion from our previous podcast. This idea is introduced visually when they drive into the village and the camera turns upside down right from the start. It then has the scene where they take the mushrooms or whatever the hallucinogens are. Hallucinogens?
Yep, there it is. When you
I was like, that was too short. First one was too short.
With my hearing problem, everything sounds just fine to me.
It continues thematically as Dani begins to adopt the ways of these people. And then back to visual depiction, she takes the drugs or whatever they are, and she starts to hallucinate. And the hallucination is that grass is growing from the back of her hand, right? Mm-hmm. So that was in the beginning. And then towards the end, she takes the drink, right? And she looks down and her feet are becoming roots. You remember that?
I do.
And then finally, at the end, she's finally full bloomed and she's all flowers.
Yeah.
Right? So thematically, again, her mindset changes, it warps, it distorts what is acceptable. And it's this idea of this new family actively attempting to distort the visitor's perceptions before the visitors join the community or are sacrificed. Christian was drugged and controlled into having sex with the girl. Like we said, arguably raped in this context. And Dani only sees the sex part, right? Not the other parts of it, just him, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least that's what she's focused on when she starts crying, is she's crying that he's having an affair, right? And that's a distorted perception of what's actually happened with Christian. So far we've got sacrifice, we've got distortion. Destruction is my third word. Similar but different to sacrifice. Sacrifice is willing, at least by one side. Mm-hmm. And when I say destruction, you might think to ruin, or it's done in anger, pain, it's disaster, it's vengeful. If you think about a single force that might be associated with destruction, you might think fire, right? Tragedy, fire, and burned everything to the ground, destroyed it. And that's what we see at the end. We see all the victims, we see the sacrifices, we see Christian burn to the ground with fire, destroyed. And then you had mentioned it earlier, but the people that offered themselves willingly trusted that they would take this medicine and they wouldn't feel any pain. And we realized that was a lie. And so what was supposed to be a sacrifice on their part also became destruction because they felt that pain.
They sure did.
Yeah.
That was one of the most panicky moments for me in the movie, was seeing that. Because they were kind of like paralyzed, like the same way that Christian was. Mm. But they hurt.
Yeah, they hurt just the same.
Yeah.
In that case, it wasn't sacrifice; it was destruction.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've got sacrifice, I had distortion, I had destruction. So taking all of this into account, here's my theme. The price of a distorted grieving process.
Oh, my.
I think we see grief in a couple different contexts. First is obviously the immense pain that we see Dani in after her sister committed the murder-suicide. But I think we also see it as her relationship with Christian crumbles down, right? It's an ongoing grief as she's noticing things about him. She's noticing things about the relationship. You forgot my birthday. Pele didn't forget my birthday. Pele invited me on this trip. Pele wanted me to, it's these realizations, and having to grieve with that on top of grieving with everything that happened at the start of the movie. And one grieving process seems rooted in pain, while the other process seems like more in intolerance, more like, how dare you? You're going to cheat on me? How dare you? I'm choosing you to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
Right? But in both situations, to me, the grieving process is not true, like we discussed, right? It gives destructive results. The idea of how to heal is to destroy everything her life used to be in the name of sacrifice and outing toxic relationships. So that's what it became, it seemed like, right?
True.
To me, that, and I think you'd agree, that is a distorted view on proper grieving.
Right.
Relating to some of our previous discussion, this village, it infiltrates Dani's friends and isolates her away from them, but still convinces her that she will be happier this way, disguising themselves as peace by sacrificing people that love her, symbolically and literally. So you kind of mentioned that before, right? Like wearing that mask of you're not actually addressing what you're supposed to be addressing.
Yeah.
So just like Mia's character, though, in Talk to Me, feeding into the idea that it is all about you and not taking into account the other people in your life, becoming a berserker of pain, like Mia, like Harvey Dent, Dark Knight, reaching for ways to grieve and grasping onto the wrong resource, just like Mia did in our previous discussion. So Kmax, now I'd like to hear from you on all that. And remember, we don't have to agree.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of good movies that hold people that are grieving. You create a lot of villains that way. I can remember one of my art appreciation classes at Buff State, which was great. And they're talking about how many in one of my humanities classes of like Greek tragedies, like how many, a lot of conflict, like classical conflict, is built of an antagonist with this deep psychic wound, and honestly, a lot of superheroes borrow that from Greek tragedies to have their arch villain have this deep psychic wound that was somehow roundabout caused by the protagonist or an ideal of the protagonist. And so it's
would
almost
you call
like
Dani a villain?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I think like that smile at the end, I could see that becoming a series or something. Not a series, but like I could see that playing out where she's making the decisions, these hard, like she's embracing that and she's really good at it. Like really good at making hard decisions and maybe speaking for this cult of people, maybe leading them, you know what I mean? Like I can tell you how to get a lot of sacrifice people from America. Like I understand the depths of this, how grief can be. I know how dismissive and how using these kind of guys can be too. So yeah, there's no shortage of them on campuses and in coffee houses. We can find a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? You can find a lot of sacrifices this way. I could see her being like very zealous for the Harga. I can see her being very zealous. Maybe not superhero arch villain, but they're doing some pretty rough things there. So okay, I'm trying to find some clarity to make my point of grieving. Right? We see that grieving improperly or ignoring your grief can create monsters, right? And so poor Dani But that smile at the end, it's not a smile of healing. It's a smile of psychosis.
It's a crooked smile.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So I cut my face. That's what was more chilling than everything else in the movie to me, was seeing the transaction that happened. Not the healing. The psychotic transaction that happened. She didn't have a spiritual healing. She was at least brainwashed. At most indoctrinated. Maybe, or at least indoctrinated. And at most brainwashed. Or at most psychotic. Now she has turned. There's a psychosis that's happened. There's a precipice that's happened. And now that smile is no different than Harvey Dent. The rebirth, the snap, something snapped in them. That's what I saw. And that was the most terrifying moment of Midsommar, was that smile at the end. I'm like, Dani Targaryen type feeling of, I am the exactor of justice now. I don't know what her character's going to do next. I'm almost fearful of it, that character now. This person who I loved and grieved with and wanted to reach through the screen and, let me give you a half hug here. Let's figure this out together. Now I'm like, it's too late for that now. She's turned.
You know, I know you're dreading this episode, but there's a lot of things I like about it. And one of them is, we've addressed, if you remember in our chapter episode, we asked, what's the boundary between adversity and mental health? And I think we got a little bit closer, because I know when we asked that of ourselves, we didn't really have an answer. So now I think we have a little bit more of an answer, and it's when you're not hitting those. What do you call those targets you're talking about on the
right? I call them
like
gates. They call them gates.
So if you're not hitting the gates fully, then we cross over from adversity to mental health. It seems.
I think so.
I think that becomes at least part of our answer here, of when you can tell someone is no longer grieving properly. At least from this example.
Well, honestly, and two, I think I'm forced to think. I didn't want to ever, and I don't want to ever again. I'm forced to think of relationships and people. We all deal with grieving people. If you're a decent person, you see people grieving. I shouldn't be so vain to say if you're a decent person, but I think if you're a mindful person or a compassionate person, you see hurt in people, and you want them to be okay. If you're a decent person, you want them to be okay, and you want healing for them, and you want to see them have joy again or feel again. And I don't know if there's people that are predisposed to seeing it. But again, understanding that everybody's different and everybody grieves differently, I think you can see sometimes from a mile away a non-example of dealing with grief properly. It's hard to pin down you're grieving properly. They're getting to a good place. You can usually see the effects of it, the fruits of that, of healing. You can see the fruits of it in a smile, a genuine smile, or maybe engaging things that they used to do, maybe reading again, or listening to music again, or going for a run, exercise maybe, you know what I mean? They're doing these things that are positive things again, that they view as positive things, or that they once viewed as positive, that they haven't seen the joy in, or heard the song or the music in a long time.
Well, I think it's seeing things positive, not just for yourself, but for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? So just, I'm happy. That's all that matters. It's, I'm happy. I belong here. I'm with other people that are also happy.
I like what you said about in consideration of others also.
Yeah.
Because I think that you can get kind of a lot of selfish when you just, I got to look out for me now. No one else is looking out for me. I got to take care of myself, you know?
And I think that's the example of not hitting those gates the way you're supposed to, not hitting the target in the bullseye before moving on to the next target. Mm-hmm. So again, I guess we didn't really answer. We didn't answer the boundary between adversity or mental health, but I think we got a clearer picture of what that boundary is. It's easier to recognize that boundary, I think, now.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I give you the Mike Show answer.
Yeah,
sure.
So Kmax, so now this is our last episode of our grief chapter. What were your biggest takeaways?
Well, let me think about that for a second. It's a grief and dealing with it is a layered thing. It's got a lot of texture to it. It's not just as simple as you're hurting, get over it. I think we're both wise enough to know that it's not that simple. I think looking at a lot of examples of not grieving the right way and how damaging how destructive it is to you and to others.
And to others.
I think that's probably the thing that I learned most over this unit is how destructive it is to others. Because we can all say that if you're not dealing with grief right, it'll eat you up. It'll tear you apart. It'll steal your joy. But sometimes we forget how destructive it can be towards those that we love and those that are trying to reach out and care for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Talk to Me definitely showed that. I mean, they took Mia into their home. Her two best friends were members of that family, and she allowed one to be possessed and nearly kill himself and put himself in a coma. And it wasn't even like it's not like she beat him up or anything like that. It was that longing for that connection that ends up being so destructive to the people around her. Mm-hmm. And in this one, it's Dani trying to find belonging, and in doing so, allows these other people around her to be sacrificed and killed off, and however else they're mangled and
because she knew what was
dispatched.
Going on. Like she was the one that was saying the loudest that he wouldn't have gone without her. Remember when she knew that they were? Yeah,
because we might see Christians being dismissive of that, but how dismissive of it was she when she knew something was wrong? She's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go dance with the May Queen.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned too is that I don't know what the limit is, but there can be a limit as to when we say you need to focus on yourself in order to grieve. It's a personal journey. It's up to the person grieving. It seems to be that there can be a limit to that, though. There needs to be consideration for the people around you, people trying to help you, being able to see those people helping you and
yeah,
and allow yourself to be helped by the right people.
That is so, I don't want to say it's so nebulous. That is so, I think we can at least say that's very complex. Mm-hmm. It's because it's tricky. I want to say it's tricky because it's, when do you decide or who decides that?
Yeah.
It's like,
it's personal.
We got to get moving here. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that's a tricky one.
And both movies we watched seem to be about characters that struggled mightily with their grieving process. And they seem to be missing some key pieces out of the things that we talked about in our chapter episode that I think could have helped them. And again, it's all the filmmakers, what their vision is for what. It's not, it's obviously not ours, but I feel like out of what we've discussed are pillars of grieving properly and finding peace after grieving. There's a couple things missing from these characters' lives, I think. And I think it's interesting that it becomes a trend. All right. Any other final thoughts before I move on here?
Well, I mean, I think I have final thoughts of grief in general, of our grief unit in general, and tying them back to our good friend Ralph. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful to get to a 10-year mark and be able to celebrate with laughter and good tears. Someone that we love so much. It makes me feel like sometimes I wonder if I know how to grieve properly. I know where my faith takes me about grief. I I don't mourn like others who don't share my belief system. When losing someone who has again, I only have my own lens here, and my lens is that of a born again Christian, and as was Ralph, and so that gives me a shared hope. Having a shared hope with somebody makes it that my grieving process is a little bit different. It might be skewed a little bit. I don't think it's a cheat code, though. I still think I have to get through those stages, but there's an underlying hope there, where that might not be present in some people's grief process. But I don't think it's a cheat code to just say, now I don't have to grieve. Now I don't have to do a little bit of bargaining or figure out, or I don't have to be angry now. I can just totally release it now and I think some people think that it is that way. But I feel like more than that, my shared belief system gives me a guide. It's like a handheld through that process. It's like a comfort. It's like being carried through it a little bit. I still got to get through it. Mm-hmm. Still have to do it. And the nice thing, after 10 years, there's some ways that I feel like I regress to some stages. I still get angry sometimes. I still can't believe it's real. But I feel very well put when I think of him being elsewhere. When I think of him being not here and very, very much gone from here, but being somewhere else, but existing still, and being very much alive in that place. That level of acceptance, I think some people might argue, like a non-believer might argue, that that's me being where Dani was, being brainwashed and being indoctrinated to this. But here's the difference to me. The peace and what that causes me to be among people around me. Does it harm them? Does it help them? Because I find myself being better able to love people, and being better able to be considerate, and being better able to comfort them when they're hurting, because of this belief system that gives me this great hope. I'm better able to mourn with those that mourn, and I'm better able to carry people who need carrying. And I have such a heart for and a love for people who are hurting because of this, because of the way that I grieve. It makes me want to share that, the hope. And it makes me want to not shake them and say, believe like I believe, but encourage them to say, here's something that brought me a lot of peace and comfort. And share it if and if they tell me stop it, whatever, this isn't helping me, okay, fine. I still ask people, is it okay if I pray for you or with you? Right? I feel like that's not me pushing anything on them, but that's just me. And those are all like things that make me feel like the way that I grieve are positive and helpful, because I see the fruit that it brings to the other people. Believers and non-believers. I love folks, and I'll bring donuts or I'll bring coffee to someone who has a contrary belief system than me. Someone who hates people who believe like I believe. I still have a great amount of love for them. And not just compassion for them, like pity that, oh, I'm sorry you don't believe like I believe. But a genuine, heartfelt love that says, I know you're hurting. I don't want you to be hurting. I want to provide some comfort somehow and help you navigate this. Help you get closer to those gates, Anyway.
Yeah. I echo a lot of what you're saying. Because if I'm ever grieving about something, we had, uncle, loved one, passed away in the past month, and relied on my faith for that. And with our discussion here, something I was able to galvanize something. I stole one of your big words there.
That's a good one, isn't it? I like that word.
But this chapter served as a reminder to me that hopefully I don't ever forget this, but to allow the people close to me, my loved ones, the ones that love me, the ones that I love, allow them to help me. You know, so hopefully I don't forget that when tough times come up ahead.
When you're big masculine men like we are, it's easy to forget that. That we need people, you know.
All right, but
That's a joke, by the
more
way.
that we discuss this, the more it's like, okay, it's out there.
Yeah.
Try it. You know, dark times can come and your mind can get clouded, but just hearing it again. You know, let the people that love you. Use them as the way out of however you're feeling. And I'm also reminded too, we talked about grief as a personal journey, but that doesn't mean you don't have to accept tools that other people are trying to give you. Like you mentioned, the faith, you know, and us saying, you know, try to use the people that love you as a means to rely on them, you know, and you can. It's okay to try and broaden your tools.
Yeah.
Your tools shed for how you can grieve. So even though it's a personal journey, you can still add ways to grieve. You know, it's not, oh, this is the way I grieve and that's that.
I mean, if we can be of some service for anybody look at the chapters and look at the things and tools, the idea of tools. Grief might be the most useful one to help people grieve if they can have more tools to grieve properly or more avenues of it. But like, look at fatherhood or parenthood, childhood, look at all the other subtopics and themes that we've discussed. There's not just how to take in a movie, but like how to sometimes process your feelings. And in men's groups, big tough men league, there's not a whole lot of talk of. There's some healthy ways to process these feelings, and there's some unhealthy ways to process them, and we're indoctrinated and inundated and just flooded with examples of wrong ways to process good things and bad things, overindulgence and lack of accountability. Sometimes but like, I think it's kind of cool to have at least a couple of voices out there saying there's healthier and different ways to process this stuff. You know?
Mm-hmm. All right. Did you ever think that we'd reach 2 hours?
No.
In this?
I was looking for maybe a half hour out. But we reached 2 hours?
We've reached 2 hours.
We better edit the heck out of this, baby.
Just cut it after you said angry. Just cut it.
I was going to say, the anger sharks are swimming.
Oh, the anger sharks are swimming.
You got to dunk that.
You got to dunk that. Oh. Goose, blah, blah.
Goose Favre. Just, we know what you do.
Just, Kmax, tell us who you are.
What do you mean who I am? I told you who I am.
You want Tin Man to tell you who you are.
I don't want you. Just tell me who you are.
Well, our next chapter will be on isolation. But don't worry. I've chosen a movie that rebels against the negativity. And we get a positive.
Oh, God help me. Thank you.
We get some positivity back in our movie selection.
And that movie is Hellraiser.
2.
Oh.
So if you've been able to stick with us through a tribute, through the ritual, through grief, through Talk to Me, through Midsommar, kudos. It was a deep journey, but we're climbing out of the pit.
Let's do it.
So join us next episode when we talk about isolation. How is this going to be lighthearted, Kmax?
I am curious, but it better be.
I know the movie will be lighthearted.
And we're a couple lighthearted guys.
Heavy-footed, lighthearted.
Heavily footed.
At least here. At least on this couch.
And on this one. We are on separate couches, to be clear.